What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot, and welcome to episode 15 of Disney 101. Hope everyone is having a magical morning this morning. It is a Saturday morning edition of Disney 101. And today we're going to be looking at the best international Disney rides or attractions that are needed here in the States. Every single Disney park, Disney Hong Kong, Disney Shanghai, Disney Tokyo, Disneyland Paris, Disney Tokyo Sea, or any attraction, any of those parks are eligible today. We're going to have a lot of fun. I do want to let you guys know that you guys can follow us over on Twitter at Disney101pod, and you can also hit that subscribe button below. That does a really good job. Turn on the bell as well, and then you make sure that you get those notifications sent to your account whenever we are on the air. Joining me today, he's a former WDW cast member, a current Orlando resident, and one of my best friends in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve.
Hello, good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone.
I know, it's nice and early here. How was your week, Steve?
It was pretty good. You know, for the week back from a Thanksgiving break after being off for a week is always a little bit of adjustment, more so for the kids than us. But by extension, it's for us too, so that because, you know, we have to kind of snap everyone back to reality. But now only 3 more weeks till the Christmas break, the holiday break. So count down the date.
That's awesome, and it's always fun, in my opinion, to go and to spend some time. Did you guys have a nice Thanksgiving?
We did, yeah. We had Amanda's mom came in from New York. Amanda's friend Amy came in from New York. We had a couple of friends join us here, so it was a really cool Thanksgiving. How about you?
It was good. I mean, this is the first Thanksgiving in which we were, as married couples, so it was a little crazy. The day before Thanksgiving, we went around to join Ari's parents because they had work on actual Thanksgiving, as did Erica's brother. So then on Thanksgiving Day, we went, unfortunately did skip the parade this year, which was tough because, I'm a big fan of the parade. But we did go with my family, got some dinner in the middle of the day, and then we went on and then we went to, and then basically after that, we went to her side of the family, dropped dinner off for her brother, went to her sister. So it was running around trying to make sure we got as much family stuff in as possible. That's kind of the life I lead, I guess. But it was cool that we got to see a lot of family, and it's always fun to do during the holiday season.
Oh, of course.
Before we get started here, did want to just address something off the top. Last week we did a episode on the best refurbishments that we do in the Disney parks. That was actually one of our most watched episodes, so thank you guys so much for that. Thanks for checking us out here at Disney 101. Some folks did mention that they thought it was a little bit of a negative topic. What I would say is, if you guys did not get a chance to check that out, go and watch that episode. You'll see a lot of what we spoke about was not like, hey, Disney attractions that got to go. It was much more about Disney attractions that either, maybe we'd make them the way they originally were, or things we do to add something to those attractions. What do you think, Steve?
I mean, I think that's a fairly accurate statement. And I appreciate feedback, good and bad. That's how we don't know if we're doing something wrong if people don't call us out on it, right? And it's the same idea that Disney has for a long period of time. I think I've mentioned this before, that a lot of the changes that happen at Disney parks are due to guest feedback, both good and bad. So a lot of the changes that we could make, we could take a cue from Disney there. So
absolutely, it's very true. I mean, we'd even spoke a couple weeks ago on the show about Disney bringing out the live action Up show, and they're getting such negative feedback right off the bat that they just canceled the show and are redoing the entire thing right now. That was one of those things where I didn't know why they had to change it in the first place, but here we are. Very true. But also in there, we did get a lot of great feedback as well, and definitely appreciate that. And the folks that did give their feedback about the show, some folks saying they agreed with us in the part that we had said about the original Test Track ride, and how the way that it used to be was much better, and they don't know why they changed it.
Yeah, and I mean, half of that I'm sure is nostalgia. Where I'm sure if they did end up bringing that back, I'm sure those of us that remember the first one would get a kick out of it the first time around, and then when you look a little bit closer, there are good and bad things for changes like that.
Very, very true. Also, during the and kind of and moving on to what we're talking about, so this week, one of the things that happened on Thanksgiving Day, actually, it dropped the new live action, quote unquote, Disneyland Lion King trailer for the new Lion King live action movie that is coming out. Did you get a chance to see this trailer, Steve?
I did. I watched it a couple of times. And the thing that a lot of people are saying is, how can you make a live action movie if it's all CGI? How are you calling it live action if it's all CGI? But it's the same thing with the Jungle Book. The Jungle Book had one live action actor, and the rest of it was all CGI, and that was still live action. So
that I thought was really good. As a matter of fact, if okay with you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for the new Lion King movie right now, just so that I could get a check at it. So it seems like it's only 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, we're going to get your live reaction take on this. So
that's right. Fun. Absolutely, yeah. If we don't, did I turn it off already? Okay, all right. So I'm going to turn it on right now, and we'll see kind of how that goes there. All right. Can you hear this, Steve?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom. But a king's time as ruler rises and falls like the sun. One day, the sun will set on my time here and will rise with you as the new king.
Wow, so they did an unbelievable job there. They really got and captured the essence of what the original trailer for the original Lion King was by kind of recreating the entire trailer to the original Lion King. Am I wrong on that?
That's pretty much what it is, and there's actually a few videos that are up that do a side-by-side comparison of the old trailer versus the new trailer, and it lines up pretty well.
That is really cool. Yeah, no, I thought that the whole first off, the fact that the cast is loaded. And you got Seth Rogen in there, James Earl Jones in there. You had a whole bunch of folks out of that I noticed. Keegan-Michael Key from Friends from College is in there. They also have Beyonce, I think, is even on the.
Beyonce is Nala, and I think Donald Glover is Simba.
Very cool. Awesome stuff. I don't know who Seth Rogen is. Is he Timon or Pumbaa?
I'm guessing he's Pumbaa. If I had to guess, he's going to be Pumbaa. Like, come on.
That's pretty cool. But no, that gave me goosebumps. They brought me right back, which is clearly what they're going for. I feel like this movie is for the adults, I guess, who kind of grew up on the original Lion King, and now it's like, check it out, and then we'll also bring the movie back for the next generation.
This is definitely for those older millennials that have kids that were about the same age as when the original Lion King came out, those 6 or 7 year olds. So yeah, this is definitely for that group where it's, basically bring a new generation in and get them started on this kind of thing. So it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it now. And it seems like Disney itself has a lot of movies that are coming out in 2019. that we're, that I know I'm excited for. We could do an entire show just on all the movies that are coming out. Obviously, Avengers is coming out in 2019, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole slew of. I mean, you got Avengers, you got Captain Marvel, you got a whole lot of you got a few sequels coming out, you got a few live action stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out in 2019.
I know Toy Story is also coming out. Toy Story
4. Yeah, have you seen the trailer for Toy Story 4?
Yes, that one I did see. That one looked. It seems like that one you're lining yourself up for some pretty crazy stuff happening there.
Yeah,
that's what the thought is, right? That this could be a pretty serious.
Well, I think it was Tim Allen that had said that it kind of alluded to the fact that the ending of Toy Story 4 is going to be heartbreaking, or it's going to be like a very emotional. Changer. Yeah, very emotional. So we'll see what happens with that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be some good stuff. One thing, speaking kind of on the media portion of stuff, did you see that Daredevil has been canceled by Netflix?
I did. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen season 3 yet. I saw season 2. I love season 2. Season 2 was really good, but had one of my all-time favorites, The Punisher, in it.
You have always loved The Punisher.
And The Punisher is gearing up for a second season too, so I haven't heard anything about that one being canceled or not yet.
I feel, from what it sounds like, it doesn't really feel like they're gonna. It feels like Disney's gonna pull all their stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like, like Iron Fist being pulled. Okay, it wasn't the best received. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. Okay, it wasn't. I mean, they were actually pretty good in my opinion. And Daredevil was the strongest out of all of them. So to know that Daredevil isn't going to be continuing anymore doesn't give me a lot of faith for the Punisher. They might release a second season, but then after that,
yeah, no, I agree. I think it's definitely something that they're going to probably, if those bigger shows, if those types of shows, because they also have the Defenders, right, which was pretty big. Or is the Defenders made up of all those guys?
Basically, all of them was the 4 of them. It was Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist all together.
Gotcha. Have you heard that? I'm thinking that if they have these shows, I guess, that are kind of already established, and they pair those up with the new Star Wars show and with the newer shows that we've discussed in past episodes that are coming to Disney's streaming service, it makes a lot of sense for them to kind of bring that out and then to kind of do that.
Well, the thing is that apparently people, the executives have come out and said that the Marvel shows aren't going to be going to Disney Plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm reading. Actually, there's an article that came out yesterday on CBR.com. And it says Netflix canceled Marvel shows aren't heading to Disney Plus.
Oh, wow. Okay. Damn, that is crazy. Well, I guess they're probably doing that because they're probably figuring that, I don't know, maybe they just want to do their own thing and don't want it to be like they're piling on for all this stuff that are coming to Disney itself.
Well, I mean, part of it is I feel like it's, there was while it was all in the same MCU, where like there were references and stuff that, in the shows that from events from the movies and stuff, there wasn't a lot of connection to it. And there's two sides of this, there's the Marvel, studios that have kind of been running the Netflix shows and all of the show, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of that stuff. And then there's the movies that are bringing in the big bucks. It's kind of like what was happening to Disney in the 90s and 2000, early 2000s when, you had a lot of movies doing really well, but then they were cranking out those direct to DVD, direct to VHS sequels. That was the Disney Animation Studios. That was a completely different entity than the studio that was making all of the big blockbuster movies. I'm kind of feeling a similar vibe here, where the people that are making the shows kind of are getting the short end of the stick because they're not the big cash cows.
Exactly. No, I definitely think, that's definitely tough. One of the other stories that kind of came out in the Disney parks over the next couple of days is that the Tomorrowland Speedway, sorry, not the Tomorrowland Speedway, that is already closed. But the railroad, and the Magic Kingdom Railroad, is going to be stopping while pretty much throughout all of 2019 for construction of the Tron coaster. Pretty crazy. I mean, that's a pretty iconic attraction and ways for people to get from here to there in the parks to have the trains stop, so to speak.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the layout, it makes a lot of sense because it kind of has to happen. Even right now, I'm surprised it wasn't earlier because when we went, actually last month or 2 months ago at this point, when we went to the Halloween parties for Space Mountain, it had actually rerouted the exit to the attraction while they were working on a few things, and you had to cross the train tracks when you left the ride.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm surprised they hadn't done it earlier than that because you had guests crossing the train tracks in order to get from the exit of Space Mountain.
Do you think there's going to be anything else that's shut down when Tron is getting going here?
The closest thing over there is, there's that Storybook Circus kind of tail end where the, Goofy's Flight School is. So I hope that doesn't get closed down.
Oh, you can't close down Goofy's Flight School. Come on. That's what's one of the premier attractions in the park, one of my favorites. I
feel like we could preface that but we're not knocking the attraction in any way. It is actually your wife's favorite ride.
100%. It is my wife's favorite ride. We love to do the photo op or pinned up on the little gimmick thing there with our, to do that photo op while we're on the line. And usually I'm way too big for it, so I can't really fit too well, but I try. But it is a legitimate favorite attraction of ours. I do not mean that with any sort of, do not direct any hate tweets. I mean that one. I love that attraction, and it's a shame to kind of see that. Hopefully that does not happen. But one thing that is cool that they're doing, what they are doing with the, I don't know if you heard did you hear what they're doing with the train in the meantime?
I did not hear it, no.
So they are going to be parking it at Main Street USA and allowing folks to come up for a photo op. And they said it's going to be like
yes. I did hear that, actually.
Well, how is it? So is it basically just you could take a photo op in front of the train?
Yeah, I mean, probably similar to. I mean, they do the same thing over at Universal with the Hogwarts train.
Yeah. So it is probably very similar to that. You're right. Oh, that's very cool. Awesome. So one of the reason I mentioned that, and the reason I'll be talking about the next thing is because it does tie in to some of what we're going to be discussing today. It was announced by WDW News Today, user Jim, who could be found, you can follow him at Jim from Disney, that there is a new Toy Story hotel coming to the Tokyo Disney Resort. Today, the Oriental Land Company Limited announced that the new family-friendly, affordable Disney hotel will be coming to Tokyo Disney Resort area in the fiscal year of 2021. Based on the extremely successful Toy Story franchise, the approximately 600-room hotel will give guests an opportunity to enjoy a toy-sized world. The guest rooms will resemble the ever-familiar bedroom of Andy, where Woody, Buzz, and other pals live. The rooms will be designed with furniture and features inspired by their world. Amenities available in the themed hotel will include standard-type room amenities and a restaurant that will allow guests to enjoy an unforgettable experience at a reasonable price. Andy, the little boy who loves his toys, Woody, Buzz Lightyear, and the rest, has embarked on the ultimate backyard project, a building to house all of his toys. When Andy is called away by his mom, his toys and their helpers take over the toy tower and open it as a hotel for the honorary toys of the world. Oriental Land Company has previously announced new expansions coming to Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea Park starting in 2020. With the opening of this new hotel, Tokyo Disney Resort will be able to accommodate more guests on property with the expansions on the horizon. Very cool. And, I don't know if you had heard, have you heard of what they're trying to kind of do with that expansion at Tokyo Disney Sea?
I've heard a little bit about it. I've heard that it's happening. I really haven't heard a lot of details about it, though. Yeah,
I mean, from what I've heard, they're doing like four different attractions, and it's going to be based on Frozen, based on Toy Story, and something to kind of look at there. But that's pretty cool. That sounds like an incredible hotel. I'd love to go, and I guess that's the point there.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will be phenomenal because a lot of the stuff at Tokyo Disney is just so breathtaking. Like it's probably number one on my overseas Disney parks to go to on my bucket list, more than any of the other ones, because just all of the attractions there are just so cool. And part of the reason is kind of what you touched on it, because it's the Oriental Land Company that owns it. It's not actually Disney that owns the Tokyo Disneyland Resort. It's actually owned by the Oriental Land Company because of the rules and regulations and the laws there in Japan, and that's also one of the reasons why the train that is outside of the Tokyo Disneyland theme park doesn't connect. It's basically a kind of a horseshoe shape almost, where it goes from one side to the other, and then when it gets to that train station at the other end, it goes back around. And the reason, because if it actually connected and made a complete circuit, it would constitute like an actual railroad that would actually have to be, what's the word, regulated by the government. Like that,
really,
it would be an official railroad. It would be like an official, transportation mode that if it were to complete, then it would have to be regulated by the government.
That is very cool.
That's the reason why that one doesn't connect. So fun stuff like that is always interesting to me about the other parks and the way that they had to do certain things.
That is really cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I have not been to Tokyo Disney. We did go to Disneyland Paris, which was a lot of fun. But it's always fun to go there too, just to kind of see things. Like if you've ever been to Disneyland Paris, they don't really have anything really in the last 10 to 15 years in terms of like if you went to Disneyland Paris and you haven't been paying attention to Disney movies, you probably would have no idea that Disney has purchased Marvel. You would really not know anything about Frozen, Moana. Those types of movies don't really exist in Disneyland Paris. It's much more focused on some of the more classic attractions. And at the same time, it's kind of cool that they do something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm perfectly okay with that because and again, it's one of those things where because of the fact that back when it was called Euro Disney, it kind of had a bad reputation. So to try and kind of even turn back the clock a little bit further and focus on more of the classic attractions and everything, I think it brings more. You're bringing more people, and you're not ostracizing those people that have only seen recent movies or that kind of thing. You're focusing more on that nostalgia factor, that Disney brand factor.
Absolutely. And so, is there anything else as far as the news goes this week that you'd like to touch on, or should we then now piggyback off of this announcement and move into our big topic of the week?
I was going to say, I think that's an excellent segue for
absolutely. Well, and that was the hope there was to mention all the the idea that Tron is coming to the parks, right? Tron is an attraction that really got over and got a lot of publicity as being a great attraction, I believe, in Disneyland Shanghai, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right. So that is now coming to the U.S. Obviously, Ratatouille, that attraction is in the process of being made in Epcot. And the Slinky Dog Coaster, which opened up in Toy Story Land just this year, is an attraction that exists in Disneyland Paris. Now, obviously, the attraction in Disneyland Paris is a much more of a kid coaster, I guess, or kind of a beginner's coaster. My wife absolutely loved it, but it's something that in coming to Magic Kingdom, they definitely made it a little more intense when they brought it over. But those attractions all stemmed from popular attractions internationally, and it's something that we wanted to kind of touch on today and talk about here on the show. Steve, do you want to get us started on something that you were thinking about?
Sure. And I'll go ahead and I'll stay at Tokyo Disney. This is actually one of those things where when I worked for Disney Vacation Club, the whole thing was park knowledge. And it was great because, when we were in Orlando, there was a lot more hands-on experience that we could do with the park knowledge and everything. And, venturing off into Disneyland in California, a little bit more that I was able to kind of do and suggest. And of course, my experiences with Disney Cruise Line was one of my favorite things to talk about. But then, there was also, we watched a lot of videos and, browsed the website and stuff about all these other, overseas parks and that kind of introduced me to all these parks that like I had always known of, but really not known that there was a lot of other different attractions and unique attractions to these parks. And it started with like adding these things to my bucket list. And one of them over at the Tokyo Disney Resort, and I think this is actually at Tokyo Disney Sea, which is, so there's the Tokyo Disneyland, which is kind of your traditional, Magic Kingdom theme park, if you will. And then there's Tokyo Disney Sea, which is a little bit, it has different themed lands. And in one of those lands, you will find a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction. Now, if you've ever been to, if you've ever seen the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction that was here at Magic Kingdom or the one that was over at Disneyland in California, it wasn't necessarily that thrilling of attraction. It was definitely unique, but it wasn't a thrill ride per se. But this one definitely is. This one looks more in the vein of a little bit more, maybe like a step or two above the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And I say that because it looks like it's a combination of a lot of dark ride effects where it almost looks like, so you are kind of going under the sea and kind of in these underworld caverns. And it also gets kind of a almost an Avatar vibe because of the glowing plants and that kind of stuff, the bioluminescent plants are all around you. But it also does have some roller coaster features to it. So this is a really cool, unique attraction that I would love to experience. But if I don't think I'll be able to make it over to Tokyo anytime soon, I would love to see that here in Orlando.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that does sound really cool. And actually, when we put out for some feedback about attractions that folks wanted to have in international attractions they wanted to see here in the States, at Magical ORL Parks, Magical Orlando Parks, a great follow over on Twitter, mentioned to us that actual attraction. They said Mysterious Islands 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, improved from Walt Disney World fame, and Journey to the Center of the Earth would be fun additions to the USA parks. So that was one of the ones that she had told us as well, and that's pretty cool. I think that that attraction sounds great. It was one of the ones as a kid, 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, that I really thought was fun, and I think would be cool to kind of to have that here in the States.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Journey to the Center of the Earth. That's the one. Journey to the Center of the Earth is the one that looked more like it was Avatar. I kind of mixed the two together and was going back and forth between the two. But yeah, Journey to the Center of the Earth, that looks so cool. And I love the vehicle too, because I'm a big fan of like, the Jules Verne, if you've ever seen the Disney movie Atlantis, that like steampunky vibe, which I'll also kind of get to in a minute. But yeah, I love the vehicle, and I love the whole theming and the feel of both attractions.
Yeah, that sounds it sounds really, really cool. And I always think, that's something to me I never really understood why they originally got rid of the 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, because that was a great attraction. And so it's good to know that that attraction does still exist, and give us hope that maybe someday we could have it back here in the States.
Maybe.
I'm going to kind of start actually in Disneyland Paris. This is a place that I went to, and I'll circle back to Disneyland Paris at some point, but because I do have something else I wanted to mention as well. But before we even get there, Crush's coaster. Crush is one of the I think is a great character, and we do have talk time with Crush here in the States. But Crush's coaster, even though by the end of waiting on that line, because of how popular the attraction is, your head will be spinning just from the amount of times you will have. Something just fell, and I don't know if they got above us, and it just threw me off entirely. I apologize, but that was weird. From the amount of times that you will hear Crush over and over say, "Righteous, righteous," and then go back to "What's up, dudes and dudettes?" by the end of that attraction, and you hear that on loop over and over and over and over and over in both English and French, and they have the guy in French attempting to do the Crush voice. So it's great, but at the same time, it's crazy. But I like the attraction just because it's kind of a little bit like Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin in Disneyland, but it's more of a coaster. So you're indoors and you're seeing a whole bunch of stuff going on, and you're just spinning the entire time it goes around. So, I mean, definitely something you need your Dramamine for, but that's an attraction I really like, and it'd be cool to see here. I always just, I like the idea, too, of having an attraction based on characters that are not necessarily the main characters of movies. So I think that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, and I mean, if I may, there's a lot over that at Disneyland Paris that I would bring over as well. Starting with more or less the entirety of their Tomorrowland area. Just again because if I'm recalling correctly, the entire land pretty much is kind of steampunky in that sense, right? There's Space Mountain, very, yeah. And I'm a sucker for that stuff when it's done well. So I would love to go over and experience it. Now, Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland is always going to have a soft place in my heart because of my time spent there working there, and I really like the way that the land is right now, because it's got that retro feel of the way that people thought that the future was going to be. And I also love that kind of retro. There's a word for that too. I forget what it's actually called. But it's also a blank punk theme, where that like 50s, what they thought, Star Trek vibe, kind of what they thought the future was going to be, with like ray guns and all like, the big tubes and kind of almost like Fallout-y, that kind of thing. But yeah, I would love to see a separate land in addition to our Tomorrowland now, not replacing it, but in addition to our, somewhere having something steampunky.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when we went down, and there was a bride and groom that had just arrived, and they were dressed very steampunky as well, to kind of fit into the vibe there. They were on their honeymoon, and it was cool to see. It was cool to see that they were down in Paris for their honeymoon, and I believe my wife immediately looked at me and told me not to get any ideas. But they were dressed very cool, and you're right, it's a very cool vibe over there, and it's quite nice when you're checking it out. Then if we're gonna stay in Disneyland Paris, there is a show that, hang on, let me just find the exact name of it, because I don't want to, let me just quickly, yeah, there you go. I know that it's themed in the Wild Wild West. It's Buffalo Bill's Wild West show with Mickey and Friends. This is a show that I don't know why it has not come to the U.S. The show is similar in the vein, if you've ever been to the Medieval Times, where you're basically, have you been to a Medieval Times?
I've not been to the actual, experience, but I've seen the Medieval Times at like the Renaissance Fair when they're there.
Right. Similar to that. In Medieval Times, when you go, there's like a big fight between knights, and everyone has the big, everyone has a different knight's crown on their head, and you're kind of representing that knight. You're cheering for that knight. The knight is like color coordinated with your crown. Buffalo Bill's Wild West Adventure, which is kind of in the downtown Disney area of Disneyland Paris, is set similarly, but it's all set in the United States. So you have all these cowboys going against each other, representing different portions of the United States, different states from the U.S. And even though this is in Paris, that's what you have. And they have a little band that is there for everybody before you go in, where they're out there, they're performing, they're all like pumped up, excited. Goofy's also on stage with them, and they're all swinging around and dancing, and the entire crowd just gets into it, and they're also dancing and, giving you a roundup deal, and it's a lot of fun. And so not only do you get that Medieval Timesy type vibe, but then obviously Mickey and his friends are a part of the show. It's incredible. I think it's something that when most folks go to Disneyland Paris, they go to. It might be one of the better produced shows. And I'm surprised they haven't done it. It's an arena-style show. I'm sure it would do very well in either of the parks here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really like Mickey and the Magical Map that was over at Disneyland. That's probably one of my favorite, arena stage shows next to Fantasmic. But As far as those kinds of shows, yeah, it sounds really cool. I think I think Walt Disney World could use more of that. Those live stage shows that kind of incorporate a little bit more, not just and make it, again, kind of going back to what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, where they need more kind of unique one-off attractions and shows and stuff. We all love Beauty and the Beast. We all love The Little Mermaid, but to have a live stage show that's basically just retelling the Beauty and the Beast story or the Little Mermaid show, the thing that I'll say, that at least with the Finding Nemo musical that's at Animal Kingdom, it has unique songs to it. It's still it's still telling the story, but it has unique songs to it that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. With Beauty and the Beast, it's just a truncated version of the Broadway play, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I think Frozen too in Disneyland. I think that's basically the Broadway play to a much smaller degree. I don't know this because when we went, unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to go. But I know that when we went to the Disneyland years ago, when they used to have the Aladdin show, that was pretty much, because then we went to Aladdin on Broadway. It was basically a similar version of the exact same show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything else on your list from Disneyland Paris?
Actually, yes. But it's less so much about the park itself, and it's more having to do with the Run Disney event that was there recently. The villains race. The villains, I think it was a half marathon. Anybody that knows me knows that I love Disney villains and all things Disney villains. And Run Disney events. So it's a perfect coupling for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people would get a huge kick out of it to be able to do a race here stateside that's villains themed.
Yes, I agree. I think that would be awesome. But have you had a chance? I don't know if you've seen about villains. Have you had a chance to or know anything about the Villainous board game?
I've seen it, yes. I haven't had an opportunity to purchase it yet, but I've seen it, and it's very interesting to me.
we saw a picture of it when it was sold out when we were shopping around on Black Friday weekend. But there was a picture of it, and we looked online. It looks very cool.
Yeah, and I know how much your wife loves board games.
Well, that one she looked at. She was excited about it. She said she's played if her and I could be on a team. So. But no, that is really cool. You had mentioned Tokyo Disney a little while, Tokyo Disney Sea rather, and one of the things I love about it is that they have, I don't know if you'd heard about this, they have a Soarin' around. Actually, I might be wrong about that. Give me one second. I just. Nope, I was wrong about that. That one is Shanghai. I'll get to that one in a second. But Tokyo Disney has a Big Hero 6 attraction. Or at least
tell me more about that.
They're going to be making it. I think. I think they announced that there's construction for it. They're making a Big Hero 6. It's a spinner ride similar to. No, I think it's actually out there. It's a Big Hero 6. Spinner ride that exists in Tokyo Disney, and if that's the case, I like Big Hero 6 quite a bit, and I think they should definitely make one here.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. And again, it's one of those properties that is just it. There's so much that you could do with it. You could make it a coaster. You can make it almost like a Buzz Lightyear ride. You can make it a dark ride. You can really make so many different things with it. That I would love to see that. And it was,
It actually does seem, by the way, just not to cut you off, but it does seem like they're going to be, that's part of the 2020 expansion in Doha.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It
would be great and I think that is going to be similar to have you ever been on Mater's Roundup in Disneyland?
Yes.
It's a very cool attraction. It's cool, I just think, because Larry the Cable Guy, I think, is like big time on display there and does a really good job kind of in getting you excited. But I love that. Like, I feel like, I'm always big on Disney kind of premiering or kind of putting under focus some of the movies that aren't like You're Frozen or something like that. I think Big Hero 6 is highly underrated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's and the thing is that it came out around the same time as Frozen,
Yes.
and it was completely buried under Frozen Mania, which I think is really really unfortunate. But yeah, no,
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a after credits scene in Big Hero 6.
there was featuring the late Stan Lee now.
Yeah, which is unfortunate that yeah, quite a bummer. We didn't really get a chance to talk about Stanley. I don't know if it was he must have passed away maybe right after we got off the air 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
But that certainly is a real shame that he's no longer with us because yeah, I mean the guy has created an entire universe. He's similar to a Walt Disney in a way. He's similar to for me obviously a Vince McMahon, that they've created this alternate universe that has been such a major force for so many folks growing up, and Marvel just has so many fans. And obviously, I think his cameo was really something that folks looked forward to in all of the movies, and it's a shame that he's no longer here.
yeah.
And I don't know that you had heard, but George H.W. Bush had passed away last night.
Yes, I did hear that too. That's also sad.
While I was on the air for doing my show on Watch Along Wrestling Podcast, I got a little update, and I thought it was a piece of feedback, so I went and I opened it up, and it's George H.W. Bush died. I was like, well, that really sucks. But on to happier things. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on in Tokyo Disney? Because the stuff that seems to be coming out in Tokyo Disney for that 2020 something. I mean, the expansion, they have the Big Hero 6 ride, Beauty and the Beast area, really cool stuff. Is there anything in Tokyo Disney you wanted to talk about though that's currently there that you think we could use here in the States?
There's so much that I don't kind of want to go down the list too much. Just suffice to say that there's a lot of stuff at Tokyo Disney particularly, just because of that fact, kind of going back to that fact that it's not necessarily owned by Disney per se. So the company that does own it, the Oriental Land Company, they basically will take Disney Imagineers and just throw money at them and say, here's, kind of blank check, show us what you got, here's what we kind of have an idea for. Here's the kind of thing that we want to see, go nuts. And so that's why everything at Tokyo Disney is just there's so much detail and there's so much love and there's so much, just little things. Even if you're just looking at some of the smaller attractions and the smaller things, like there's so much detail that goes into all of these things. And I love that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I definitely think it's something that, is probably hard in Tokyo to, you probably have to have it be something that is really being, is given that extra little tidbit because there's so much to do in Tokyo. And so they're probably competing similarly, I feel like, with Disneyland. I mean, Disneyland's in Anaheim, so it's not like it's right in the middle of LA, but it's not far away from LA. Whereas like you go to Disneyland, you go to Disney World Orlando, I feel like when you land in Orlando, Disney World exists, and it's probably the premier thing to do in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of something to be said for that. The fact that all of these other places, you're talking Paris, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Shanghai, like these are all destinations in and of themselves. Anaheim, even, Orlando. Yes, I'm, living here for the past 5 years. There is so much to do that is not the theme parks themselves, whether it's Disney or Universal or SeaWorld or even Busch Gardens. There is a lot of other stuff to do, but it's still a tourist destination more so than, like to go to Disney World or Universal or that kind of thing. It's kind of the first thing on your list. And then all these other things, when you get a chance to do it, I feel like it's the other way around in most of these other places. Absolutely. Where unless you're going, unless you're a Disney fan, like a lot of us are, these kinds of places aren't necessarily your first thing that you think of when you plan a trip to Tokyo. Of course, mine would be.
No, 100%.
But, right, your average kind of tourist that goes to Tokyo probably not high up there.
Yeah. I also see that there's an attraction in Tokyo Disney named, well, first off, shout out to them. They do have Gadgets Go Coaster, one of my favorites in Disneyland. But one of the deals that they have is the Monsters, Inc. Ride and Go Seek. I don't know if that's similar. It looks slightly similar to the Monsters, Inc. attraction in Disneyland, but it looks cool as well. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I did see that, yeah. So yeah, I think it does look very similar to that. But even if you look at their, they have a Tower of Terror attraction there as well, and it looks so cool, like with the the theming and everything, and the mansion, and they also have Indiana Jones Adventure, Temple of the Crystal Skull, Raging Spirits, which looks like a definitely a
Rage of Spirits that looks really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, like a lot of just really cool looking attractions.
Yeah, and they have something. It seems like they also have a Toy Story Land as well, which I do see. Journey to the Center of the Earth, that does look very cool. Nemo and Friends Sea Rider. I wonder if that's the same deal that we've been to, but it looks almost like it's a kind of the Star Tours ride.
Star Tours. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. Yeah, it looks kind of similar to Star Tours, and by the way that the way the ride is kind of described, it kind of looks like that. Yeah,
it's very cool.
That would be really cool, like a Star Tours, motion simulator type attraction themed after Finding Nemo. That looks really cool.
Yeah, very cool. Moving along here to Disneyland Shanghai, there's some cool stuff here in Disneyland Shanghai. I don't know if you'd seen this, but their attractions, they have their own Soarin' that I really want to go on, and it's called Soarin' Over the Horizon. And it basically looks like it's Soarin', but at the same time, it's something that they're going and over the horizon, which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love, and I like the idea of having unique Sorens. For a while it was the same, and it still is, on both coasts here in the United States for, Walt Disney World and Disneyland. It's the same Soren. They've been updated, so it's really cool. But still, to have something unique overseas, I think is a, it's a really good idea, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said, too, where, I do know there are folks who go down, Disney enthusiasts go down to Disneyland Paris specifically to go to that Buffalo Bills Wild Wild West show, and they go down there specifically to see. So there is something to be said for, I know Disneyland Shanghai, before they announced that Tron was coming here, there were Disney enthusiasts who wanted to go and went to Shanghai specifically to do that Tron attraction, because I heard it's
sure, of course, yeah.
Really cool.
I will say also, there are two others besides the Tron coaster. The Pirates of the Caribbean Battle of the Sunken Treasure attraction. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this a little bit, but I know this was one of the first things when they first announced that this was going to be a ride. I was starting to look at plane tickets to Shanghai, because this looks absolutely like the details and the effects and everything that are on this look absolutely amazing.
It's different than the attraction we have.
It's different than any other Pirates of the Caribbean attraction, yeah.
Oh, man, you see that? In just looking at some of the things they had there, they had, it seems like they have almost like a Pirates land, because they have a couple different things that are out there. That does sound really cool. I'm pulling it up here. Let me see here. I just had it up a second ago, and I don't know what to do with it. But it does look very cool. I definitely did see that, and it does look like it would be something to go ahead and do. Now, obviously, they are in the process, if I'm not mistaken, to where is that located there? I had seen it. Now it seems like it's gone on my list.
The Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah. Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
With Shipwreck Shore and the Siren's Revenge.
Yeah.
Explorer canoes. That looks like a cool little area there. But yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure does look pretty awesome, and that looks really fun. Shanghai, I think, has only been around since 2016, so it's still a very new park, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
So they have some of that. One thing I was surprised to see that they, I was surprised to see they had Toy Story attractions that were not in Toy Story Land that was brought here.
Well, and again, they kind of want to. I think it is a good idea as much as we're talking about, how we would love to see these kinds of things. It's a good idea to keep everything unique, to make sure that every park that you go to isn't, a copy of everything, where you can have similar attractions. But I really appreciate the idea that they are keeping things different.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you saw kind of in Shanghai that you thought would be cool to have here?
I mean, a lot, but specifically, those are kinds of the things that I would go to. Those are definitely my must-dos if I ever make it over to Shanghai.
For sure, absolutely. One of the things that I do see, and I'm not 100% sure what it is the giant Donald Duck. Have you seen this?
The giant Donald Duck.
I
did not see it, no.
An 11-meter tall, giant floating Donald Duck in his signature sailor outfit. Looks like a photo op, but it's one that I really would love to go.
That would be amazing. Oh yeah, I do see it.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. So yeah, and I'm sure Shanghai is going to be something too, where they continue to expand that out a bit. Obviously, there's some stuff going on with Winnie the Pooh. I'm not too sure what the deal is with that, but his attractions have been shut down, and there's rumors they're going to have to be redone entirely.
Oh wow.
I think it's I don't know. I think there's some rumors that Winnie the Pooh is maybe had some racist overtones there, and so is that the deal there?
I hadn't heard anything about it.
Yeah, it was something. Let me see here. I'll pull up because they have a couple different Winnie the Pooh attractions. They basically have like a they have a deal where Winnie the Pooh is, let's see. Let's see. I don't know. I know that there's something with Winnie the Pooh where they basically.
So the thing that I found is Winnie the Pooh banned from Disneyland in China due to a meme, and the fictional bear is reportedly seen as a symbol of resistance against the country's leaders.
There you go. That was China, because they're making the China park soon, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Shanghai is in China.
Well, they're making a new one, though.
Are they?
Pretty sure that's the next Disneyland that's coming out.
I hadn't heard that.
So, yeah, my wife is not a happy camper. It's just a little off screen. So in any event, we had done a I think that I did hear that the next attraction, the next park in Disneyland, the next Disneyland was going to be in China. Could be off on that though. Maybe you seem
okay.
Maybe you think I'm off on that one.
I don't know. I think we'll have to fact check that.
Yeah, maybe I should. But is there anything else that you think about these parks here that is something that you'd like to kind of
the one park that we didn't really talk about, Hong Kong Disneyland.
There you go.
So over at Hong Kong Disneyland, because of the differences in traditional Chinese culture, they do not have a haunted mansion, because the idea of departed spirits in the afterlife, the whole theming basically of the haunted mansion here in the United States doesn't with the culture and everything of traditional Chinese culture, doesn't translate that well. But what they do have instead is Mystic Manor. Have you heard about this at all?
I have not.
So Mystic Manor, it has a trackless ride system similar to Pooh's Honey Hunt and similar to the Ratatouille attraction that's in Paris, where it's, everything is kind of has these electromagnetic carriages that kind of do a good job of keeping it, you're not bumping into each other, but still they're floating around the whole area kind of independently. And it's I think it's a great way. It's a great, ride system. I really think that the ride system in and of itself is something that we need here in the States, especially in Walt Disney World. Not even just about this attraction particularly, just come up with something that has this kind of thing. But it's, basically it's, I'm going to read it quick here. Unlike Disneyland's Haunted Mansion attraction and its counterparts in other Disney parks, Mystic Manor has a lighthearted, fantasy-based theme with no references to departed spirits or the afterlife, due to differences in traditional Chinese culture. The attraction does feature several references to the Haunted Mansion, such as a Medusa changing portrait, a conservatory, and the bus that turns to follow visitors as they move. References to other Disney attractions. Basically, you're kind of going through a. It's basically a lot of magic and stuff, and enchanted artifacts and stuff that that Professor Mystic has kind of collected over the years. And the best part of the whole thing is that it has a musical score by Danny Elfman.
Oh, damn, that's really cool.
Yeah. So so this is a real, I love Haunted Mansion anyway. So just this, this translation of the Haunted Mansion into the Mystic Manor is something that I would love to go and see.
Yeah, good stuff. Wow, that does sound really cool. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Disneyland Hong Kong, was that the first one after Disneyland Paris that was built?
I think so.
Yeah, I know it's been around for a number of years there. Let's see here. So I do apologize. I wanted to just follow up there. Construction is beginning for a new Disney park in Urasu, Chiba, Japan. So not in China.
Oh,
Japan.
Okay.
Japan is getting a new Disney park. And they thought that this actually was just going to be confirmed to be an expansion of Disney Sea. It does not appear to be that. But
okay, so that's maybe that's what we were thinking about.
Yeah, that was where we were at. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think I think it's just cool to think about that there are so many different types of attractions and a whole Disney World internationally from what we have here in the States.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on here in terms of Hong Kong and in terms of the different types of I do see here they have the Iron Man experience, which looks really cool as well.
Yeah, I mean, anything, I think, anything Marvel related is something that I would like to say just because we don't have a whole lot right now. But I did hear the construction is going very well at the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction over in Epcot. So,
good.
Chopping up a bit here to take a look at that.
I mean, at Guardians of the Galaxy, that's going to be a completely separate attraction from, that's not going to be like Tower of Terror, right?
No, it's going to be a completely brand new, unique attraction.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, no, and it seems like the Iron Man attraction is like a motion simulator type deal that they do here in Hong Kong, and 3D motion simulator. I feel like in Disney itself there aren't that many 3D motion simulators. So when you get one, it's really cool. Like, I mean, I no shade being thrown at Universal, but there's so many 3D motion simulators that when you get one, it's kind of like, nah, we've had like 10 of these earlier in the day. So it's cool that Disney does when they do it, they do, I think, a really good job with them.
Yeah, and especially just because of the fact that when there are a lot of people that you can ride roller coasters all day if you want, not be affected, but you go on one motion simulator, and you're down for the count. So I really like the idea that you have a lot more variety at Disney World.
There you go. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on, or you think that?
I think that is that's a lot of good information, at least.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely a lot of stuff there that would be great to have here in the parks, and I'm sure you could probably go to those different places and they'd talk about all the attractions they'd like from us. So I think we're very lucky that in the States we have two different completely unique options in both Disneyland, Disney World, 6 parks in total. That's more than they have internationally outside of the U.S. I believe there's only 4 different parks, or 5. I think there's actually 6 because I think Paris has 2 and Tokyo has 2. So you have 6 here and 6 internationally, and I'm sure they could probably sit there and tell you a bunch of stuff they'd like that we have that maybe we take for granted for having here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well, that is going to do it for us. We do have a lot of fun stuff coming down the pike, though. We had tossed around a couple of different ideas. Did you have any idea for next week?
I mean, I do like a lot of them, so I'm not sure which one we want to do.
We do have a lot of fun stuff coming up, though. We spoke about that. So keep it locked to us on Twitter at Disney101pod. And of course, the best way to figure out what we're going to do is just to make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell. The notifications will come straight to your cell phone, your device, your email, and you'll be able to know everything that we have coming down the pipeline here. But lots more fun stuff before the end of the year, certainly, and going in toward the new year. It's December, which is crazy, and 2018 is wrapping up.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, is there anything you wanted to say before we get out of here?
No, just we'll see you next week and have a magical week. We'll see you real soon.
Alrighty, everybody. Take care.